The frequency with which I'm reporting to you stories of Sikhs being discriminated against, often after being incorrectly labeled as Muslims, which, by the way, would still not justify the discrimination, seem to be getting more and more frequent. Firebrandprogressives.org has a story about a man who was told by a judge that he wouldn't be able to come into his courtroom until he removes, quote, that rag from his head, of course, referring to the turban traditionally worn by Sikhs. So on Wednesday, the ACLU and United Sikhs sent a letter to the Mississippi Department of Transportation demanding a bunch of documents relating to the arrest of Mr. Jagit Singh, who's a commercial truck driver and also a devout Sikh who was passing through Mississippi some months ago. The story is that Mr. Singh was stopped for a flat tire. He was called a terrorist by police. He was harassed. He was humiliated by highway patrol officers. He was told to remove the turban. He was also told to, he also wears a kirpan, which is a small spiritual sword that's worn as an article of faith, kind of like a cross is worn by devout Christians. And officers said he had to remove it, alleging incorrectly, by the way, that it was illegal. It is, of course, not illegal. And when Mr. Singh explained that it was a religious article, the officers laughed at him and mocked his religious beliefs. Eventually, he was arrested. The officers claimed that Mr. Singh refused to obey their lawful command. Skip to his court appearance, where the judge says that he should leave the courtroom because he has that rag on his head. This is just an absurd story, Lewis. Devout Sikhs are increasingly under attack by bigots, by xenophobes since 9/11. Often they are misidentified as Muslims, and I will state it once again to be perfectly clear. Even if they were Muslims, the discrimination and harassment would not be okay. That's a point that is often not made explicit in news coverage of these Sikh harassment stories. But putting this aside, the judge here absolutely needs to be investigated, and I think that's what the ACLU is pushing for, and I think it's going to happen.
Hopefully it does. And, you know, I hate to say it, I don't want to put everyone who lives in this state in this category, but we are dealing with Mississippi here. And I'm sure even the fans of this show who live in Mississippi would agree that the South has a lot more of these of people with this type of mentality. And we weren't used to seeing that up north.
Factually speaking, there are way more indications that there is more of this type of racism in certain parts of the country, the South being one of those parts of the country, basing off of internet searches for particular terms, basing it off of the number of hate groups based in and around certain areas. So we do have data about that, no question about it. And as Lewis says, it is not an accusation that everyone in any particular state is of any particular point of view. There are racists everywhere, and there are nice people everywhere as well.